Now, I have to be honest with you. I've had to rewrite my own stories too. For years, I told myself, I don't speak well, and nobody ever hears my voice anyway. Growing up as a shy, quiet girl whose voice didn't project well, I'd watch people talk over me or simply not hear what I had to say. Even through college, part of me believed I just wasn't meant to be heard. But when I started catching those stories and questioning them, especially during a season of burnout when I unexpectedly became drawn to public speaking, I realized something powerful. Hi there, I'm Wendy Rimmelsbacher, and welcome to the podcast show, Dim to Daring. Do you feel like there's something bigger waiting for you, but you're not sure how to make it happen? You're in the right place. I'm here to bring you inspiring stories, powerful insights, and practical strategies to help you reignite your spark, realign with your purpose, and take those bold steps towards the life you were meant to live. Let's dive in, because you're not finished yet. You're just getting started. Welcome back to Dim to Daring. I'm Wendy Rimmelsbacher, and I'm here to help you stop shrinking and start shining. Today, we're diving into something that might be the most powerful force keeping you dim, and it's something you do every single day without even realizing it. We're talking about the stories you tell yourself. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah is a talented graphic designer who's been freelancing for 3 years. Her work is beautiful. Her clients love her. She always delivers on time, and her portfolio speaks for itself. But here's the thing. Sarah has been charging the same rates since she started, even though her skills have grown tremendously. When a potential client recently told her that her competitor was charging 3 times what Sarah quoted, she didn't raise her prices. Instead, she thought, well, I shouldn't ask for too much. People like me don't command those kind of rates. People like me. Those words revealed everything. Sarah wasn't being held back by her talent, her portfolio, or market demand. She was being held back by a story she'd been telling herself for years. A story about what she was worth and what she deserved to ask for. Here's the thing. Sarah's story wasn't true. Her work was easily worth premium rates, but she'd been telling herself this limiting story for so long that it felt true. And that's exactly what we're unpacking today. So what do I mean by, quote unquote, the stories we tell ourselves? These are the narratives running in the background of your mind, the beliefs about who you are, what you're capable of, and what's possible for your life. They're often so automatic that you don't even recognize them as stories. You just think they're facts. Well, here's what I've learned from years of leading and coaching. Most of these stories aren't facts at all. They're just well-rehearsed fiction that have become ingrained in our belief system. Think about it. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, I'm not good with money. I'm not creative. I'm not a leader. I don't deserve success. People like me don't do that. These aren't truths about you. They're stories. And the difference matters because facts are fixed. But stories can all be rewritten whenever you are ready to start. The problem is we've been telling ourselves these stories for so long that they've become our operating system. They determine what opportunities we notice, what risks we take, and what we believe is possible. So where do these limiting stories come from? Well, usually they start early. Maybe you were told you weren't math smart in 3rd grade, and you've been carrying that story ever since. Perhaps you watched your parents struggle with money, and you absorb the tale that money is always tight, or people like us are always broke. Maybe you tried something once. It didn't work out perfectly, and you decided that meant you weren't good at that thing. Sometimes these stories come from well-meaning people trying to protect us. They say things like, don't get your hopes up, be realistic, play it safe. Do any of these sayings ring a bell for you? I know I've heard them. And sometimes they come from moments of pain or rejection where we made up a story to explain what happened. And that story stuck. But here's what's fascinating. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a story that protects you and a story that limits you. It just files it away as truth and uses it to filter every future experience. So that story that once protected you from disappointment or embarrassment, it might now be protecting you from your dreams and in essence perpetuating your dim vision for your future. Now I've noticed that most of the limiting stories we tell ourselves fall into 5 major categories, and I want you to listen to these and see which ones hit home for you most. Money stories. I'm not good with money. There's never enough. People like me don't build wealth. Money is the root of all evil. I don't deserve financial success. All these stories keep us small financially, but they also keep us small in every area of life because money represents freedom and options. They trap you in a scarcity mindset when the truth is there's abundant opportunities available to you once you're ready to see it. The second one is career stories. Thoughts like, I'm not qualified enough. I don't have enough experience. I'm not leadership material. I should be grateful for what I have. People will think I'm being too ambitious. I won't fit in with my friends anymore if I succeed. The third one is relationship stories. Thoughts like, I don't deserve love. I'm too much. Or I'm not enough. If they really knew me, they'd leave. I have to earn love through what I do. These stories create walls between us and authentic connections, leaving us feeling lonely even when we're surrounded by people. The next one is body and health stories. Thoughts like, I've always been heavy. I'm not athletic. I don't have any willpower. I'm getting old. Or, I can't change. So these types of stories keep us stuck in patterns that don't serve our health and vitality, convincing us that change isn't possible when it 100% is possible. And the last one is success stories. Thoughts like, people like me don't do that. I'm not special. Who am I to want more? Success changes people. And if I succeed, others might treat me differently and I might lose their friendships. These are perhaps the most insidious because they masquerade as humility when they're really just fear. So which of these categories made you squirm a little? That's where your work begins. Now, before you start feeling overwhelmed thinking about all the stories you need to change, take a breath. You don't need to rewrite your entire narrative overnight. The beautiful thing about stories is that they can be edited. You can keep the parts that serve you and rewrite the parts that don't. You can be the author of your own story instead of just the character trapped in someone else's plot. So how do you actually rewrite these stories? Well, here's my 4-step process. The first step is catch the story. You can't change what you can't see. So start paying attention to your internal dialogue. When you hear yourself thinking, I can't, I'm not, or I don't, pause and ask, is this a fact or a story? Step 2 is question the story. Once you catch a limiting story, get curious about it and ask yourself, where did this story come from? Was it true then? Is it true now? How is this story serving me? How is it limiting me? What would be different if I didn't believe this story? There's so much power in these questions. And step 3 is find evidence for a new story. So at this point, you're looking for proof that your limiting story isn't the whole truth. If your story is, I'm not good with money, find evidence that contradicts this. Maybe you successfully budgeted for a vacation. Maybe you negotiated a better deal on your phone bill or a car. Maybe you made a smart purchase decision. The evidence doesn't have to be huge. Small proof points can crack open big story shifts. And step 4, practice the new story. Once you've identified a more empowering story, you have to practice it. Your brain has grooved that old story through repetition, so you need to groove the new one the very same way. And it's going to take time as well as intention. Instead of, I'm not good with money, try, I'm learning to manage money well. Or, I make thoughtful financial decisions. Now notice, I'm not saying you have to jump from, I'm terrible with money to, I'm a financial genius. That would feel fake, and your brain would reject it. But going from, I'm learning, or I'm getting better at this, that feels possible and true. Now, I have to be honest with you. I've had to rewrite my own stories too. For years, I told myself, I don't speak well, and nobody ever hears my voice anyway. Growing up as a shy, quiet girl whose voice didn't project well, I'd watch people talk over me or simply not hear what I had to say. Even through college, part of me believed I just wasn't meant to be heard. But when I started catching those stories and questioning them, especially during a season of burnout when I unexpectedly became drawn to public speaking, I realized something powerful. These weren't truths about me. They were just old fears I'd been carrying around, disguised as facts. The story I practice now, I have something valuable to share, and the right people will hear it. Same voice, different story. And now I'm here talking to you. Let me share a real example of how powerful story rewriting can be and how sometimes we need others to help us see our new story before we can see it ourselves. Through my work with school business officials, I met a brilliant young woman. Let's call her Jenna. Jenna had grown up as a migrant student, which made her K-12 education incredibly challenging. But instead of letting that define her, she used it as fuel to work harder and eventually earned her accounting certification. When we first connected at annual conferences, I could see her potential immediately. She was working as a financial staff member for a good friend of mine, and her work was solid, reliable. She was very professional and thorough. Later, my friend, who was the CFO and an amazing leader in Jenna's department, resigned from her position. Then the pandemic hit, and the district, like other businesses, struggled to find a replacement during a time when people were hesitant to step into new roles. There was a scarcity of qualified individuals willing to take on new career opportunities. That's when Jenna called me. She said she felt a nudge to apply for the CFO position, but she was terrified. Her story? She was telling herself things like this. I'm not ready. What if I fail? What if I can't handle the pressure or the responsibility? Now, here's what I knew that Jenna couldn't see yet. Her work spoke for itself. She had been the backbone of that department. The only thing standing between her and success was the story she was telling herself. As someone who had faced similar whispers of doubt, I knew what Jenna needed. She needed people in her inner circle who could help her see her own potential and remind her that ready enough is enough to take the leap. We worked together to challenge her limiting story and practice a new one. She started saying, I can do hard things, and I'll learn as I go. I also promised to be available whenever she needed guidance or encouragement, because that's what good friends do. We help each other see possibilities we can't see for ourselves. Today, Jenna continues to successfully lead the financial business services for her school district. Same person, different story, completely different results. The transformation didn't happen because she suddenly gained more experience or credentials. It happened because she chose to believe a different story about what she was capable of, and because she had people around her who believed it first. Whether your inner voice is holding you back from taking on a new role, starting your own business, moving to a new city, or evolving into any new chapter of your life, the pattern is the same. Pay attention to that inner voice and choose to surround yourself with people who can see your potential, not just your fears. So here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one area, money, career, relationships, health, or success, and spend time catching your stories in that area. Don't try to change them yet. Just notice them. Write them down. Get curious about them. And here's a bonus challenge. Pay attention to the people in your inner circle. Are they reinforcing your limiting stories, or are they helping you to see new possibilities? Sometimes changing your stories starts with changing whose voice we listen to. Because the first step to going from dim to daring isn't changing your circumstances, it's changing the stories you tell yourself about what's possible. Trust me, the rest will follow. Remember Sarah from the beginning? She's been rewriting her story too. Last month, she finally raised her rates to match her skill level. Not because her work suddenly improved, but because her story did. She went from I shouldn't ask for too much to I deliver exceptional value and deserve to be compensated fairly. Her first client at the new rate said yes immediately and thanked her for being transparent about her pricing. You are not stuck with the stories you've been telling yourself. You are the author of your life, and every day is a chance to write a new chapter. Until then, keep daring to be even more you. Thank you so much for joining me today on Dim to Daring. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you subscribed, shared it with a friend, or left a review. It helps more women just like you discover the show. Remember, you're not finished yet, you're just getting started. Until next time, keep daring to grow and shine.